We hope you enjoy this episode of the Modern Arizona podcast. But first, an important message for our listeners.
Hello, this is Billie Tarascio, owner of Modern Law. We're a family law firm in Phoenix, Arizona, with offices throughout the state. We have attorneys who can help you with every aspect of your family law case. We also have a legal clinic run by students for those of you who need budget-friendly resources, and we have lawyers who've been practicing for more than 20 years. Collectively, Modern Law has more than 200 years of legal experience. So when you hire Modern Law, you're not just getting an attorney, you're getting a team. If you live in Arizona and need representation, call us today. That's 480-649-2905 or visit us at mymodernlaw.com. Hello, welcome to the Modern Arizona podcast. I'm your host, attorney Billie Tarascio, today joined by state representative candidate Cesar Aleman.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
That's
great. We are in the home stretch leading up to the election. Is this the first time you've run for office?
Yeah, actually the first time I'm running. So
Awesome. Okay, so tell me, what made you decide to run here in Arizona?
It actually got a call from a couple of say community leaders here. I've been serving my community throughout the Phoenix Valley for about maybe 20 years. And so it's just been, and I was we're doing an event here, and they're like, "Hey, you'd be not good to run for." I was like, that's funny, And then I got a call like maybe a month later. Hey, we really needed someone to run, someone who's conservative, someone who was the leader, someone who does something already. It's like, all right. So I talked to my mentors, I talked to some of my closest friends, and I decided to run.
Wonderful. And your full-time job is as a pastor, right? Okay, as a minister. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So I'm responsible here at the church, at Laveen Baptist Church, leading music, but we also run a podcast as well. I do we do small groups, and then just serving our community, our families, creating outreach events for our community. Like we just did one 2 weeks ago. We gave out free hot dogs, free hamburgers, free food, free drinks. And bring resources just to be able to help our community. So that's stuff that I do here at as a full-time minister.
Wonderful. Okay, so then let's talk about some of the biggest issues that are facing Arizona, and your ideas on those. So what is the most important issue to you?
For me, I've been living in this district for quite some time already, about 25 years, and I've seen it. There was nothing but just a few houses and tons of cotton fields and cornfields, and now it's But that saying that, I think now that we have grown and Laveen is growing and South Phoenix is growing dramatically, crime comes with that as well, and and we've been facing a lot of having some crime issues here. We've been facing some drug issues that are going on in our community that is affecting our kids, is affecting our adults. And so that's for me. That's one of the biggest things that I would love to attack, is that we do something about fixing our community, making it safer for. I'm a dad. I want to make this safer for my 6-year-old, my soon-to-be 7-year-old. He's counting his birthday days already. But I want him to feel safe. We were eating dinner a few months ago, and there were gunshots. Here we are just trying to have just a relaxing, good time. We're eating some crab legs that were on special, and he's having a good time, and we just hear these gunshots, and it's kind of sad that I had to tell my son, get down, because of this. It's like, why is this happening? And so we need to do something about it. I'm one of those that, hey, I don't like just to complain about it. Let's actually do something about it. Let's bring a solution to it. And we need to enforce our laws. We need to hire more police officers. We need to do whatever it needs to make our community safer for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So I've heard that there is a shortage in officers, and we have a hard time recruiting officers.
Yep.
We have a hard time getting people to want to be police officers. How would you address that?
Because I think a lot of people do not want to become police officers because they feel that they're not being supported enough, especially from on our legislative point. And so we want to make sure that, for me, I want to support our law enforcement, our first responders, our fire department, all them. They need to support in all areas, they need training, but we need to support them as well. And laws
Right.
needs to be enforced. And so that's one of the things for me that we are to make sure that laws are being enforced, and not just you get them out and then you take them to jail and then they're out the next day or two, because
Right.
that's not helping, so.
Okay, so you'd like to see
Well,
prosecutors be tougher on crime.
yeah, we need to be tougher on crime, and we need. I mean, from what I've seen, there already is incentives to become a police officer, and that's not even helping. We got to go to the root problem. Why, even though we're throwing more money in there, why do people don't want to be police officers? And a lot of them, and our associate pastor, he's a retired police sergeant here for City of Phoenix, but he will tell you it's like they don't have the proper support. They expect something of them, but then they don't have that support either. So I think we need to be able to help by supporting our law enforcement any way possible. They face negativity 24/7, and of course they need training. Of course they need some emotional, mental support as well.
Yeah, I think it's such a difficult issue. They have impossible jobs. They're in danger all the time. They have to make judgment calls all the time. Everything they do is recorded.
Yep.
Every mistake is broadcast, and that leads to public distrust from seeing mistakes. And it's like it almost all goes back to what are we consuming with the algorithms, and what do they show us? They show us all the negative, and it's really taking a toll on our culture. And this is just one example, the relationship between society and police officers.
Yep, exactly. And it's a hard job. They have families of their own, you know, and like they want their wives expect them to be home, or their husbands expect them to be home, their kids, but if we don't enforce our laws, or we're just too lenient on criminals, you're putting their lives and the lives of their families that can change from one day to another. And we've been seeing just a couple of police shootings just within this year, the deaths of some of our officers lately. And it's just sad, that this is what they face and they don't have that support.
It's awful, but it's also complicated. Like, we recently had this video come out of Phoenix police officers beating and tasing a blind man.
Yeah.
Or deaf.
I think it was deaf, I think. Yep. Yeah.
What was it? I don't remember the exact impairment, but there was significant impairment.
Right.
And either they were deaf or blind, and or cerebral palsy might have been involved. And it was just horrific.
Yeah.
So if people watch videos of police committing horrific atrocities against the citizenry, how are we supposed to build trust and then attract the good guys? Because that's little boys and girls grow up wanting to be the good guys, get bad guys, right? But that impression is gone because of videos like the Phoenix video. What do you think?
Well, and unfortunately, when some of these incidents happen, they're like, well, one apple kind of spoils the rest of the apples, kind of thing. And we got to we need to take that into consideration. And not all our police officers are bad. Yeah, you're going to have some bad ones here and there, but that's why you need to have proper training. You need to have them. You need to have, the training and the support, but also to be able to investigate or detect some of that behavior early enough. And that, again, you also have to be accountable. And we need to put our police officers accountable, especially in the leadership board. Just like I'm accountable, I'm being held accountable for things that I do or say here at church in full-time ministry. It's the same thing for them as well. So and that needs to also be. I'm all for support, and I'm all for supporting our law enforcement. But at the same time, in any other area in government, there needs to be accountability.
Absolutely, probably more management, probably more training.
Yep.
Probably a lot more positive PR.
Yeah.
Because we've got to combat this reputation that is really, really hurting the trust between the public and officers. It makes us less safe, and everybody cares about public safety.
Yep. Agree.
Let's talk about schools. Arizona schools are not doing well at all. What are your thoughts?
So, for me, it's because I know that kind of goes to that question about public schools, and that goes to some of the ESA kind of, school choice, for example. I think Um, I think every kid learns different, and needs to go through needs to learn through a different environment. And so I'm going to say that again, for the accountability in our public schools, I think we should support our public schools. I think sometimes we throw money just out there, but at the same time, we want to make sure that money that we're given to the schools, that is being utilized properly, that's given to our kids, that's given to the teachers. I'm all for to paying more our teachers' salaries. Let's go for it. Again, accountability though. If you're not performing to the where you need to be at or where kids need to be at, why are you being rewarded for it? Now, you want to throw, okay, you need them. You say you need the money for it, the funds. Here you go. Show me that this is going to support. I'm not just going to be throwing money or going to be using taxpayer money every single time while our kids are not even learning or not at the standard that they should be compared to even other students around the world, the same age, same grade level,
Right.
And so, but also, if there are kids that learn better through homeschool, maybe through a charter school or some other type, hey, go for it. I'm all for that too because for me, for example, I'm very I love to be around big crowds. You talk to my brother, he's very shy. He doesn't do so well on big crowds. He learns better on a one-on-one. I'm more of a visual learner, so I need something to see or to touch or to feel. My other people can just go by reading. And we
Mhm.
need to see that kids learn different, and so that's why I'm
Mhm.
all for supporting different ways of learning and not just sticking to one. So,
Sure.
so I think when it comes to our public schools, for example, they need to be held accountable. For those that go through the ESA programs here, they need to be held accountable.
That's the thing. Like, so we've had charter schools for a long time and we've expanded ESA, but when we look at the numbers, Arizona children are not thriving, no
Yep.
matter what system they're in. And 80 to 90% of those kids are in public school. So that, of course, has the biggest need. But charter schools have not come in to save the day and rescue education. And I think that, like, I'm just tired of that discussion that, ESAs or public school, like, that shouldn't be the
Yeah.
discussion, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah.
opinion,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
what are we doing? What can we do? Whether it's, let's assume we're not changing the system at all. We have charters, we have ESAs, we have public schools. They're not doing well.
Yeah. And from what I remember, even going to high school, I think we had the AIMS testing when I think it had just started when I was in high school. That okay, you need to pass this test to be able. But I don't know. I think we need to come together. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I'm a candidate that's willing to go with our experts and say, you tell me what will work, and
Mhm.
let's create a system or a way to be able to make this to be able to help our children's. They are the future. We
Mhm.
need to invest in them and a lot
Right.
because it's their future. 40,
Right.
50 years from now, we don't even know we're going to be here. They're still going to be here.
Right.
And so we need to invest in them. And so it's just coming together. We got to hear our experts. What are better teaching methods? What do we need to do? What do public schools need to change? What do charter schools need to change? So just like you said, we could bring different types of ways, but Arizona is not excelling in that area in education. So we need to maybe go back to the table. Democrats, Republicans, independent experts, you know, come together and say, okay, let's start from step one. Let's go back.
Mhm.
Let's go back to the
Mhm.
table. Let's write
Mhm.
a better plan on how we can do this. And so that's what I think I would do.
I want to ask you more about that because I have never seen government so divided. I've never seen the parties so far apart
Yeah.
and so unwilling to compromise. And it almost seems like if you are a party member who's willing to compromise with the other side, that your party will disown you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad that we kind of got to that point. I think I said that in our clean election debate. I have no problem calling my party out because you know what? I'm people before party, and I'm sure you're
Mhm.
gonna have candidates who already said that before or have said it at one point, and then they're like,
Mhm.
"No, I'm sticking to my party thing." You got to start thinking about why we actually running in the first place. You know,
Right.
we're like, is it about us? Is it about the party? The party's not going to, it's not really the answer. The Democrats don't have all the answers. Republicans don't have all the answers. But if we come together and compromise, that's a big thing. For me,
I
I'm a pro-life, and so that's probably the only area where I'm like, how life is life, you know. But everything else, I'm like, hey, and I've talked to some of my Democrats friends who are running in some point. I got to meet Janelle, and Oscar. And I told them, hey, I'm praying for you guys, and I thank you for what you did, whether I agree with it or not. I thank you, because it's about coming together. If we want to make our country better, we want to make our state better, we need to come together. This negative rhetoric needs to stop. We need this, like, drama queen. This is not middle school anymore. Okay, we need to
It's
grow up and
oh,
behave
it
like
gets
men and women.
good.
And say, okay, how can we put more money into people's pockets? How can we help in our healthcare system, in our education system? That's what really matters. It's not about what Republicans and Democrats do. It's about what we do together. And I think that's what's amazing about being an American. We all have different perspectives, different views, different cultures, but it's about coming together that really makes America great. That's what makes it just beautiful. Of different people from all around different parts. I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico. I became an American citizen, and I want to make our country better. And
Let's talk
so,
about immigration. Are
yeah,
you an immigrant, first generation?
yeah, first generation. First generation, and being honest, I'm an immigrant,
Congratulations.
I'm an immigrant, but I'm proud to be Mexican. I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love my heritage.
I love that so much. I do. I am the product of immigrants. My grandparents immigrated from Sicily, and I had the advantage of going back and spending time in Sicily and just being able to compare like life there and life here and really see the journey of immigrants and
Yeah,
the impact that immigrants can make. And I just love
yeah,
immigrants. There is a war against immigrants.
yeah, yep,
And then there's border security. And really they're two different issues,
yeah. They're two
but
different issues.
they've all become one issue,
Yeah.
and it's leading to a lot of discrimination against immigrants and a lot of like misinformation. So what are your thoughts?
Well, when I hear there's millions of criminals coming into, no, there's not a lot of millions of criminals. I'm sure there's some there.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, just like any kind of group, you're gonna have your bad apples. But excuse me. But a lot of these immigrants, and I know a lot of them, and I was one of them, and I'm proud to say I'm an immigrant. You never know what that person will do one day. Maybe he's going to save your life one day, or she's going to save your life one day from going to school or something like that. But we need to receive them with open arms. Obviously, we want to secure our border, like you said. There's two separate things. Let's
Right.
secure our border. Let's go for it, because you're also putting those immigrants. When we say, "Hey guys, come on," and for someone who is Mexican, who's gone and traveled to across the border, and knows some of the stuff that happens there, you're putting the lives of these immigrants in some dangerous positions. We have a friend, my wife and I have a friend, and we told her, hey, don't come, because she had just she went through a bad marriage, and she wanted to come back to the United States. I was like, go through the port of entry, just go through there. She's like, no, 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 no. She decides not to. She goes through a coyote. She gets raped on her way here. Right? She's not the first, and she's not the last. As long as we keep allowing this to happen, we're putting the lives of those people as well. And their cartels are making money out of it, and they make a lot of money out of it. And this is just one of the incidents of millions that happens all the time. So we definitely want to secure a border and be able to provide that opportunity to be able to come here. It is hard to. We try to bring my wife's uncle here, who is hardworking, he's respectful. He will be a productive citizen of society, big time. But to bring them here is so hard because of the process that has to go. We need to be able to make that easier
I
for them
agree.
to come.
I
So
agree.
This is Billie Tarascio, owner of Win Without Law School and Modern Law. Win Without Law School is a program that operates nationally and helps people who are representing themselves or who just need more help. If you are in a family court case and you're feeling confused, you need direction, you need help figuring out questions to procedural or strategic issues, Win Without Law School can help. At Win Without Law School, you've got two experienced attorneys, me and my partner Julie Lebenz, who can guide you through the court process and help you troubleshoot your case. You've got access to courses, planners, checklists, and live Q&A. Our live Q&A is where you can get help from us and your community. We also have a closed Facebook group just for members where you all can share your experience, share your pleadings, get advice, and mentorship. Join us today at winwithoutlawschool.com. That's winwithoutlawschool.com.
In some ways, I think immigrants are kind of more American than Americans because they come with such bravery, such entrepreneurship, such a high risk tolerance. And so they are the ones that come and they build small businesses and they create jobs and they save their money. And third, fourth generation Americans, I can look at my kids and like they're not quite as entrepreneurial as I was, and probably not, as you experience less hardship living in this wonderful, beautiful country,
Right.
you lose some of that beautiful spirit that makes America great.
Yeah. Yep. It does, But like, again, I'm all for 100% border security. My uncle he's not retired. He worked for ICE. I have a cousin who's at the El Paso border as a border patrol agent. We're all for it. I have a cousin who's in the Middle East right now in the Army. A lot of these, and they're just immigrants just like me. We want to give to the country that have helped us have a better life.
I love that.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of those immigrants here. And we, unfortunately, media portrays them as there's something negative. And a lot of them are pretty good, decent people,
Absolutely.
So
I want to ask, because I'm a registered independent, so I'm not exactly sure what all of the party positions are.
Right.
What is the Republican Party's position on a path to citizenship for people who are now here illegally?
So are you kind of talking about the Dreamers, for example, or?
Sure. Well, Dreamers were brought here as children, right? And they I think already have a path to citizenship. So I'm really talking about, there are people in this country who have lived in this country for a long time, who work and are productive members of this country, who are law abiding generally, but are breaking the law by being here.
Yeah.
What do we do? What is the Republican Party's position on that? What do we do with that?
I think from data that I have done the research on, I know a lot of as Republicans, a lot of are for immigration. They obviously they want border security. I'm sure you're going to find those that no, you need to send them all back. But a lot of our Republican parties, and talking with some of my colleagues in my side of the aisle, hey, let's find a way. How can we create a way to be able to legalize them, to have the proper immigration status that they need to be here.
So you would not support the concept of mass deportation?
I don't. It's because for me, you have productive people who are bringing, doing something to not only for them, but for their kids and for their community. And I know a lot of them that have, I worked in the nonprofit world, working with youth. A lot of these parents are like, I want to, how can we help? And that's just great to see that, and it kind of sucks that we have to.
Fine, right? They could probably pay a fine.
Yeah.
Fill out an application.
Yeah, fill out. I know for now, I know for a lot in a lot of the situations that I know of people, because I know a lot of people who are here illegally as well, and I know that when they do file, they have to live in Mexico for about a few months or a year.
Was that it? I thought it was much longer.
Some of them are much longer. I guess it just depends on the case by case. But I've seen people who been there for 3 months and then they're back over here. Some of them are a year. Some of them are there for a couple of years. So from what I've seen, personal experience, But like you said, have them pay a fine. You want to send them out to Mexico I'm sure they're all willing for it because they want to come back and do this the legal way,
Yeah.
And so yeah.
It seems almost impossible because it would take the agreement of so many people to come up with any solution. And it seems like it's so hard right now for people to work together and come up with solutions.
Because we
I'm willing to
can't,
try things.
yeah, we can't have solutions because people are just like this. That's not going to work. While people are suffering, whether through economically or whatever, or education or immigration, as long as we're just going back and forth at it, it's like we're not going to go get nowhere. And so that's why it's so important that our voters choose people who are saying, you know what, we got to choose people that are willing to compromise, that are going to think about us before the party.
Oh,
like I said,
say that louder. I agree. Like voters should be choosing candidates who are willing to compromise. And
Yep.
it's so hard because it seems like there's no middle anymore. There's no moderates.
Yeah.
But we need that in order to move anything forward.
Yeah, we need to. It's like, for example, if Kamala Harris wins, we got to, as a Christian, I will support her and I will pray for her. If Trump wins, the same way.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible teaches me to do. Pray for those that govern us. Whether we agree with them or disagree with them, we got to pray that God gives them the wisdom to make the right decisions. And that but it's like, okay, I might not agree with you 100%, but I'm willing to meet you halfway. And both the other side needs to do the same.
System, if you believe in our structure of government, if you believe in the American dream, then you support the outcome and you work within the system. And we have a beautiful system.
Yeah. And we agree on a lot. Last time that we had a debate, and it was funny because Janelle was like, I agree with Cesar because I know you got to interview Janelle, and she's great. I met her twice, and she's just cool. But she's like, I agree with Cesar, and I was like, well, because you know what, we really start to notice we agree on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just unfortunate we're focusing too much on the stuff that we don't agree on, and we're kind of like, okay, how about we focus on where we can come together, where we can bring solutions, and think about our community, think about the people, because that's what it makes. This is what the founding fathers had made this Constitution about: by the people, for the people, to the people. That's what Abraham Lincoln said. So it's like, why don't we continue to do that same focus? Run on them, not on what's best for my party, not what's best for me. Not what's best for Kamala Harris or what's best for Trump. No, what's best for our country.
Can I ask you, does it worry you at all when Donald Trump makes comments about dismantling the government?
I think it does. I think will it be hard? It might be hard to make that happen. For example, it's January 6th will be right. That's one of the biggest things. Do you agree with January 6th? No, I don't, because we have to do this in a non-violent, peaceful way of a transition of power. Whether you agree with the outcome or not, let our judicial system, let our legislative system. That's why we have these things in place. Right. They have to check and balances for. Let those take in place, and then But it's like I disagree with any type of way that's going to lead to violence, whether that's through making a January 6th, or even something like making comments like Trump is Adolf Hitler. But Trump is not Adolf Hitler,
right?
But Kamala Harris is not either. Stop making fun of her either. She's a woman. She has a husband. She deserves to be respected, just like Trump deserves. He has a wife. He has kids. He deserves that same respect. But unfortunately, respect is something we're like, I think, again, we're like becoming middle schools. It's the name calling thing. That's not going to get you nowhere.
Right.
So why are you going to do something that's not working?
If I understand, what you're saying is, yes, you're worried a little bit because you don't support the dismantling of the government, but you have enough faith in our institutions and our protections that it won't happen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, but I'm probably more positive than probably other candidates or other maybe already elected officials out there, but
I really appreciate that take. I really do, because I feel like I feel like many voters feel like if their candidate loses, the country's going to fall apart. And
Nah.
I tend to agree more with you that, like, I think our government is stable enough
Yeah.
to withstand either candidate.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be okay.
And maybe for me, it's my faith. For me, I believe that if God put them there, I mean, if they're there, it's because God allowed it to be for them to be there. Whether we agree or disagree, whether we like the policies or not. But maybe it's my faith. Maybe it's that trying to be optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your optimism is rooted in faith. You know that it'll all be okay.
Yeah. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm going to put my trust in God. That's what it says on the dollar bill. But I think we have a beautiful country. We got to get back to just remembering that as a country, and stop allowing just parties to dictate, how our country is going to work or not work. I think there's great people in the Democrat sides. There's great people on the Republican side, and we need to focus more on that and stop focusing on all that negative rhetoric, the negative media. Like, oh my gosh, like this is again feels like a middle school. So yeah.
Cesar, if I could elect 100 optimistic immigrants to come in and work and fix our country, like I would. I really enjoyed this conversation, and your optimism and your take and your willingness to work with all people and support all people. I've really enjoyed it. If people want to get to know you more, where should they look?
Well, I got my website, which is Cesar Aleman, 4AZ, the number 4AZ11.com, or even my X account at Cesar Aleman for AZ11.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and best of luck on November 5th.
Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Arizona podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, make sure to download it, like it, leave a review, and share it with your friends. If you know someone who would be a good guest or you would like to be on the Modern Arizona podcast, make sure to give us an email or reach out to us at mymodernlaw.com.